Welcome to Magic the Blabbering Podcast, where we blather about magic. We're going to talk about all things magic, maybe some stuff that's not magic. I am your host, Josh. You know me from MTG Collector's Corner, and I'm here with my co-host, Nick. Say hi, Nick.
Hi there, my name is Nick. I'm going to be here talking with you guys. We're going to be talking all things magic. I'm a former level 1 judge for Magic the Gathering, former competitive player, current, and for the last, 10 plus years, commander player. And we'd love to get into the nitty-gritty of some Magic the Gathering news and selling. I'm also a buyer and reseller of Magic cards to kind of talk about our favorite hobby together.
Yep, and I've been playing since 1993. I started in study hall playing with Beta, getting wrecked by Black Lotus and the Rack, and getting very annoyed by that. And I got into it again in about 2005 with my sons. We started playing Magic together and have just been playing ever since. So,
and that was around the time we met.
That is around the time we met, yeah.
Yeah, all the way back in 2005. My origin with Magic was a little bit later than that. I started playing probably in 2003. I was a big Pokemon player, then Yu-Gi-Oh player, and then finally Magic caught me while I was at the game store. I know no one was playing Yu-Gi-Oh, and I've been playing since about Scourge, I think was the current set. I think Mirrodin soon after, and then Darksteel is kind of where my timeline starts.
So, yeah, let's talk about, unless you've been living under a rock, you've heard what's been happening with these commander bans, right?
Yep, pretty passionate, hot topic, it seems like. If you guys don't know, somehow, the 4 cards that were banned on September 23rd are Dockside Extortionist, Jeweled Lotus, Mana Crypt, and Nadu Winged Wisdom. We won't talk much on Nadu, just kind of a multi-format agreement on that one getting banned. But we will be talking about the other 3. I'll just put it out there, get my 2 cents in. I am happy for the bannings. And what about you, Josh?
Well, I play Mana Crypt in a couple of my decks. I haven't owned a Jeweled Lotus, and I don't know that I own a Dockside. So really Mana Crypt's the only thing that affects me. I think I've got maybe 4 or 5 copies of Mana Crypt. So I was impacted financially, but I play with the cards. I don't really care about values and stuff. So honestly, these really didn't affect me a whole lot because I've got Mana Crypt in I think 1 deck. So it's one I just freaking built though. So now I gotta pull it apart. But
oh no, you're gonna pull it all apart because you're down 1 Mana Crypt?
No, I know. So
what's your commander in that deck, or what deck you playing that in?
That's an Eldrazi deck.
Which one is it? The new Precon commander?
Yeah.
Or?
So it's
Ulalek.
Ulalek is the commander, but it's a mashup of both of the Eldrazi commander decks. So the old.
Oh, so the previous Modern Horizons 2 commander deck.
Commander Masters.
Commander Masters. That's the Zuladoc deck.
Yep.
And okay, I see.
So
it's just a mashup, and then a few choice cards.
Yeah. Cool. just so I could play all the colored Eldrazi. So yeah.
Yeah, so you can go big distortion monsters and try to destroy your opponents casually.
Yeah.
Well, you're just gonna have to wait 2 more turns to do that. I actually probably one of the biggest proponents of these bans. I'm holding bags. I have 1 Mana Crypt that I've had probably since 2011. And I stopped playing probably in 2015. I played it in my most try-hardy decks. I had it in my Prosh Gyrator of Care deck I used to play. And that was the first commander deck somebody asked me to stop playing. So I stopped playing that deck. And actually, my games were better for it. I enjoyed playing the deck, but I could see the misery on my opponent's faces is they could not get through my endless swarm of tokens and all the different accesses that could deny them ability. Jeweled Lotus, I'm pretty passionately against. When I saw that card, it was probably the first card that I saw that was really like, wow, Wizards doesn't get it, and the RC doesn't get it. How are they
Yeah.
printing more fast mana into the format? I was like, I thought the whole idea was casual. This is like, hey, let me start it, play a solitaire game in front of you, or make me the villain the entire game. And
I would have liked
so
to
it
have
was
seen them do one or the other. You
one or the
know,
other.
actually, I would have liked. I don't know. Both the cards are really iconic for Commander. I mean, Jewel Lotus obviously was specifically printed for
Says
Commander.
Commander on it.
So yeah, I think I would. I think I would rather them have kept Jewel Lotus and banned Mana Crypt if they were going to do all this. Obviously they were going to do it, but I would have really liked to seen them not ban Jewel Lotus just because of its ties with Commander.
I mean, you can't do anything else with it. This is like literally and this is I don't even really like designs that specifically say Commander on them. I get why they made Command Tower back in the day. Gavin kind of talks about how Arcane Signet's kind of a mistake because it's a in every deck card.
Well, he talked
But
about
mana
how
bases
Jewel
used to be
Lotus
worse.
was a mistake too.
Yeah, he has also
So
spoken about how that card's a mistake. Just the ubiquity, also just most Magic cards you can kind of play, shuffle up a big pile of Magic cards, and you can have a game. You have lands and stuff, but when you have cards pulling at certain format structures like the Command Zone or like Draft or other things like that, like the Conspiracy cards, some of those weird cards that don't do anything, it gets a little murky. And I'm not against necessarily conspiracy cards. They kind of had a purpose, but not to get too much in the weeds. But commanders relating specific cards just make the game more narrow.
yeah,
I
well,
want.
Gavin talked about that in the live stream they did. So they did that live stream. I think it was a week after the bans happened, after all the fallout where the rules committee gave control over to Wizards. So Wizards did a live stream with Gavin and Aaron Forsyth, and Gavin specifically talked about that on that stream that they didn't want to make these cards like Arcane Signet, Jewel Lotus, because you have 99 cards, and if they make these cards that have to go in every single commander deck, that leaves that much less room for creativity. So you're going to have
Right.
you have to start with 99 cards, but if they print 10 cards that have to be in every deck, then you're down to 89 cards that and it makes sense. So
Yeah, and that's not even getting to what colors staples am I playing? What this,
yeah,
that, and the other thing. So like you're white, you might be playing Swords of Plowshares in most of your white decks. I'm not saying that's a problem. I'm just saying you might be playing Counterspell in most of your blue decks. I don't think that's a problem. I think those are emblematic cards of Magic where adding in Jeweled Lotus and playing into like Soul Ring and Mana Crypt are kind of for specific things. Mana Crypt's always been kind of price gated out of the format for a lot of people, but I've been playing against casual Commander players for years, and they always seem to justify having those cards in certain decks, some in all of their decks, and it's mostly because of ban list. And I can get so many people to agree to rule zero, but I can't get everyone to. And it's not necessarily that they will want to, but I'd rather them have to rule zero in cards that are fundamentally kind
yeah.
of usurping the mana system, which is what makes Magic such a great game, as opposed to the other way around. I
Hmm.
think aside from it just being like lending to bad actors doing things that are against the spirit of the format, like the rules committee was reaching for, I just, and then Soul Ring itself being like this weird enigma card, they're just putting to the side as a tier of zero. I really think it would have been a bigger, stronger thing if they'd also knocked that out, because it's kind of ironic to me to say that style gameplay is not endemic of Commander, but then the most iconic card for Commander, which they've propagated, it's no one else's fault, um, that it's Soul Ring,
That Wizards is
is like
propagated. That Wizard,
correct.
not the rules committee, Wizards
Not the
themselves.
rules
Yeah.
committee. Yeah, let me be clear on that. Yeah, the RC hasn't, but they also agree it's like a grandfathered in thing. They're using that brainstorm logic from forever ago. And, I don't think everyone losing a $2 card is as big of a deal. And honestly, everyone's saying they've lost X amount of dollars for the Mana Crypt. I mean, I saw stuff online. You maybe lost the potential to have 70% of that card's value.
Well,
Now,
I
don't get me
mean,
wrong, that's a lot of money,
we're
but
2 weeks out from this now, and the prices are just about back to where they were 2 weeks ago. I think. I
right, kind
mean,
of
there's
funny.
there's probably a lot of things that have to do with that. Part of it, maybe people are wishing or have their fingers crossed that Wizards are going to unban it, and so people are you know buying on the hopes that it's going to be unbanned. That may be part of it, but I think
Which is funny because they said they had no more changes, right? And it would be a huge slap in the face to kind of the whole thing to kind of unban some of these cards so immediately after. But
yeah,
I just want to keep voicing the thing that I'm not hearing a lot from current Magic media, and that, everyone just goes on the side, it's good for gameplay, and then goes into all the reasons why we shouldn't ban a card. And I want to focus back into, I'm a Commander player. I played this game like almost exclusively. I've been playing it since before it was officially sported.
uh
I
huh,
love the game, and I remember playing with Sol Ring and being like, "This card's kind of busted," and everyone's like, "Yeah." And that's the one you see everywhere because it was more accessible. And every once in a while, you see somebody roll around with something crazy. And then I played in a play group where we didn't play it for a while, and it was great. Like much more consistent games, much less variance that is like kind of feels kind of like stealing a victory, stealing from your opponent's time, and kind of making non-games. I think that we need to highlight that going from, 1 mana to 4 mana on turn two ahead of all your opponents when we're supposed to all be enjoying the game. And also, if it's social, we don't want to have a game where it's, hey, welcome to Commander. You played your turn one Soul Ring in your precon. Let's all bash you into the ground. Like, if that's
yeah,
the best, that doesn't seem very social to me. I'd rather be like, oh, yeah, everyone's doing their thing. They played their thing, and that's neither here nor there of how a game will go. But especially with something like Mana Crypt or Jewel Lotus, hey, come play this game. You bought a precon. You invested 50 real dollars in that precon. Come and sit down with me. Let me play my commander deck against you. Turn one, Jeweled Lotus, my commander.
hmm
Good luck. Like, just
yeah,
your opponent might just go, I don't think this game is for me. You're probably out $60, $70 because you bought a deck, you bought some sleeves, you
sleeves
were
and
like, can't
yeah.
wait to do it, and you're dead on turn. You're virtually dead on turn one,
Yeah,
but you're dead like turn four.
I don't think this would have been an issue if Mana Crypt and Jewel Lotus were, $5 or $10 cards. Like there wouldn't have been
Right.
as much backlash from the community if these cards were, on par with Soul Ring as far as value. So,
I totally agree.
but
Yeah.
um, so what do you think about the rules committee handing over control to Wizards?
So long ago, you probably, if people get real internet savvy, you can probably go find some of my old stupid takes on old forums and stuff. But I actually thought it was a good idea way back in the day, just because there's not a separation of voices. They kind of have to listen to everybody, and they get all of it, and they get the aggregate data. Where the rules committee was very hands off. They also would let a problem persist for a long time before making an action. Instances like well, not Grizzlebrand. I think it was like Emrakul and Primeval Titan. I remember playing through those times and playing against those cards a lot. Um, Prophet of Crufix comes to mind of cards that existed for a very long time, causing a lot of games that weren't very enjoyable for
Yeah, but
multiple
I can
people.
respect that though because what I'm seeing now from Wizards since they took over, like they're making I think a bunch of knee jerk reactions because they've got this bracket system that they're already in place that they're wanting to push and test out, and I think my personal opinion is they just need to sit there and listen to the community, for the next at least 3 months, say till the beginning of 2025. Do nothing except listen
Yeah.
You can make plans, you can put together your committee and everything, but I was really worried when I watched this stream with Gavin, because he doesn't have a team or anything together right now. And he's already talking about this bracket system, and he's talking about having like testing it out in Vegas, and from that stream that was 3 weeks away. Like,
Yeah.
it just like it seems like they're just gonna try to overcorrect, and then here in the next few months they're gonna be like, oh, we messed up, now we got to go back and do this. And it seems like there's gonna be a lot of growing pains if they try to make all these changes right off the bat.
Yeah, I kind of see where you're coming from there. Um, I don't think it's coming with any bannings, so I think systemically there won't be problems, but it definitely will make a lot more noise. And to say they went from hands off, this is a brand new thing, to getting it turned around by Vegas, yeah, that seems a little bit of a stretch. Maybe
Yeah,
they want to get some words together, but if
because
you're
right now,
understaffed or
as it
yeah,
stands, it's just Gavin's the committee.
right.
And like there's no he's not. I'm sure he's getting some sort of input from other people, but there's nothing put together right now, and it's just Gavin. And I think Gavin is the perfect person to be heading this up. But I think he does need those people in his ears, you know being the voice of devil's advocate, basically. So
Yeah, and he has a really good approach. I've been watching a little bit of his content on Popper and how they kind of are communicative, like the cranial ram card, how they
uh-huh.
kind of did that. So he has the structure down, but I think, yes, you're right. He needs to build that infrastructure for Commander before making any moves.
Yeah.
He's from my memory, so don't quote me on this perfectly, but I believe he was on the design team that brought up Jeweled Lotus,
I believe so
Yuriko,
too.
Eminence. So many cards that have made a Commander game not particularly enjoyable.
Yeah.
Now, to be honest, like some people's favorite Commander is Edgar Markov and is the Ur-Dragon. I actually enjoy the Ur-Dragon. I don't have it as a Commander deck currently, but I enjoyed playing that deck. My opponents did not, but I don't know. So definitely, I don't want a one man show for Commander by any means.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be, but right now it is, and so I don't think they should be doing anything. Until
Yeah,
they
just
until
stay
they
cool.
yeah, because
Yeah, how are you going to have a very comprehensive, long thought out thing on everything in when the rules committee, I don't even know the distance between the last ban and now, but they couldn't even get their messaging out for a huge impactful ban.
yeah.
That is mind-boggling to me. But yeah, how could they? But I guess we'll have to wait and see what they do. Hopefully, he said maybe. He kind of said maybe. He left the little door open. I hope his bosses weren't breathing down his neck like they're killing the cash cow. Come fix it. But
Yeah.
I don't want this to be Dark Steel Mirrored in time again, where apparently I started playing and everyone else was quitting. But
Yeah, I
Skull
think,
Clamp and all of the artifact
I mean,
lands.
that's another thing, another issue I think with Wizards having control is, there's obviously that conflict of interest there where, you've got Hasbro CEO saying you have to do this, and when, they know it's not good for the game, it's not good for the community, and I hate to think of, what kind of situations we're going to run into in the future. But I do think with Gavin and Aaron, both, it's the game's in good hands.
It seems like Magic's production behaviors changed a lot, um, evidenced by the behavior in the marketplace for Commander product and regular product. I consume, me and some of the people in my sphere consume a lot of collector box product and a lot of Commander deck product. And with the onset of Bloomborough, I don't know about the same thing with Duskmourn, but Bloomborough, it was very hard to get a hold of the decks after a few weeks out. And the Squirrel Commander deck was on average getting between $70 and $80 selling. above non MSRP, but what we
Mm-hmm.
expect for a pre-con, so 50, 40, $50.
Yeah.
Um, and that was outside of the cost of the product singles. So that was all originated from specific demand from individuals. But for the longest time before that, I mean, you can even see Costco right now with their deals for commander decks from March of the Machines and extra boosters to try and incentivize you to buy them. I think we're at a point where product volume is going down. So scarcity is on the way up from what I see in the marketplace. But inversely, scarcity is going down for secret layers and supplies going up. They went from being like a 1 day thing or a couple of hours thing, couple days. Now they're going to a model where they print a volume and then you have unlimited time to buy them as long as they're in stock.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can still buy some of the Boulder's Gate, like the Beholder products at this time because they haven't sold out. So now, unlike before, where you could just go online and flip immediately, if you were one of the lucky people to be not busy in the middle of the day on a Monday, not at work,
Yeah.
you would have the ability to buy a product and then flip it online for a little bit of money. But now, you can still buy things from drops from the past if there's still stock available. So now that's really put a damper on that. Like I can still see they have Death in the Eyes of the Beholder. 1 and 2 foil editions are still available to be purchased because people have not bought them. But
That's
previously,
surprising to
uh,
me.
oh yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, and some of these have good cards in them that were of value. I believe one of the Beholder products had Karzaka, what's his name? Karzakar, the Eye Tyrant, which was a pretty valuable commander, as well as Snuff Out is in one of them, and that's not that one. Snuff Out's in one of them, and so is Fire Covenant. And Fire Covenant was a $7 card from, or at least recently was a $7 card from Ice Age, and then its only other version was a Strixhaven Mystical Archive, and it was like
Mm.
over $20. So that one's of good value. But yeah, that you can still purchase from that layer today. So right now, secret layers are actually being more accessible, while
Well,
uh,
some of them are.
some of them, yes, if it's too popular, it'll go out of print. It'll go out of stock within the week. But
Like I
I
think the
haven't seen
Monty,
many that go out within the day.
I think the yeah no the Monty Python one for sure was just a few hours. It was
Yeah, but that
it
one was
was
also on the
gone.
limited time also. That was during the limited, that was the last, Monty Python was the last limited time purchase. There was nothing staying on stock or anything like that. They had one that had Terracidon in it. It was by a particular artist. And I think that product had very poor singles in it, but because so little product got out, like so few buyers, the
Mm.
singles were all over $20 for the foil
Hmm.
versions for amount of time. So the less popular layer in that instance, because of the supply being stuck, is worth was worth more on the open market. Where I wouldn't be surprised if in some secret or in some other future festival in a box
Yeah.
uh, product that we get some copies of those sacred lair cards, because they're just sitting in a warehouse somewhere because they didn't sell them all. Now they can at least wait till they flush them out, and then if they don't, they'll do the same thing. I think is kind of
Yeah.
the future
I
I see for
honestly
secret lair.
I honestly haven't paid attention to secret layers. I used to buy almost every single one of them, and when they switched over to this, we're gonna print ahead of time, and if they sell out, they sell out thing, I just gave up. I just stopped
Yeah.
altogether.
Yeah,
So I
because you
mean,
can't collect them all, right? It's not
yeah,
friendly to the
yeah,
consumer. It's like, hey, we're making this cool thing that's supposed to make you celebrate Magic, and now you're not only getting FOMO, you're just not allowed to buy it.
yeah.
Like you might be able to go to your game store.
Like the raining cats and dogs deck. I kind of wanted that one, and it was, I mean, what 2 hours maybe it was on there.
Yep.
So yeah,
And
after
that's not a
that,
small amount of money to just have parked aside for most people. Like,
right?
hey, I'm a cats or dogs player. Guess what? In a month, you better have 250 plus just
Yeah,
ready to go. I
Yeah,
don't remember the exact timeline, but it's still a lot of money to summon, especially if it's your favorite thing.
yeah. So
And then
I
it
mean,
just becomes
it was
really
really after
customized.
that is when I stopped with the secret layers. So
Yeah, and I actually did the converse. I think the first secret layer, I bought a few here and there, but once I started doing my reselling business, I started. I think it was Hatsune Miku 1 was the first
mm,
product I bought, and I bet on Miku. I bought 5 of the newest rainbow foil Mikus. I'm a big Miku believer. Uh, I think that product looks really good, and I think it's really fun. I like the music just fine. I like a lot of the fun stuff, but I also think other people out there are really into Miku,
hmm.
and I can make a little bit of money on my hobby, and I can use it to buy more Magic cards.
That was one that sold out pretty fast too, wasn't it?
I think it was the you can still get the non-foil English.
Okay.
I'm looking at it right now. Non-foil English, one of the versions. You can still get both Japanese versions of the Miku Lair. I have the foil and the non-foil. It still looks like there's good stock on the Japanese foil, but low on the other two non-foils. But we are definitely out. I think it was the first week we were out of the rainbow foil English Hatsune Miku Planeswalker Electric Entourage. But yeah, love the art on that, by the way. I'm in love with the Elspeth Tyrell art. If I will be playing that, I will be finding a reason to play that card. It is beautiful. And I used to be a person who was like, I'm not gonna buy skins, in video games
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And as soon as Magic went to it, it's like I need everything in the perfect skin. I don't want to play like it irks me to this day that I never got a Scarab God invocation art. And I'm like, ah. And then the only other time they made it was as a super exclusive in Secret Lair, and
I
it looked
got
like some drum set thing.
I got one. You want to buy
No, I don't. I don't want.
it?
I don't. That's too much money. Yeah, I love it. I actually don't love that one either. So that was kind of the other L for me is that it wasn't in an art style that I cared for.
Yeah.
Um, no, it's actually not too bad. That one's $16 I'm looking at right now. The one I want's $200. So, well, so maybe I will try to get that one off. We'll think about that later. But yeah,
So
so uh,
what's your experience with the Duskmore commanders?
the
Like as far
Duskmorn
as supply.
Commanders, for their for so we didn't buy we our group was not very interested. We were very interested in the bunnies and the rabbits and the frogs. My
Okay.
girlfriend loves that whole thing. I was into it, super into everything to do with Bloomborough, Lorwyn vibes all over
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
set. Cuteness, funness, cool beasts. I love cute beasts. I'm big on the Calamity beasts. I was hyped for that wolf. I was hyped for the bear. Everything monsters. I love it. But as much as I'm into 80s horror. It just was not tickling me the same. None of the commanders were jumping off the page to me. The style and aesthetic wasn't for me. But as far as I'm aware, you can kind of still get the decks wherever. But I think it's just a popularity thing. And
Yeah. The
for
Valgavoth one's real hard to find. Um,
yeah,
but
why is that? Do you have any idea about that? I've heard
I mean, it looks like a pretty good deck. And
it's just
Valgavoth's,
fun and enjoyable.
well, I think it's pretty competitive. And I mean, it's got,
Ah,
Valgavoth is the face of the new set, and he looks the
yeah.
most powerful out of all the commander decks. So I think
Oh, it
that's.
must be following the same trend. I see that too. Valgavoth, I'm seeing
Hmm.
on TCG Player at like $80. So yeah,
Yep.
it's that same. It must be that same supply and demand trend, where one of the
Yeah.
decks gets a little crazy and they're all gone. So there's just not a ton of supply. Um, yeah, I haven't been following Duskmorn as tightly as I could. I've seen a lot of cool cards, but not a ton have popped off of the page. My favorite card right here, Daggermaw Megalodon, my favorite card from Duskmorn. I like to play a lot of big creatures, and cycling creatures really give me an opportunity to get more big creatures into play. I played that one in one of my budget decks. Um, but that set as a whole has a lot of fun role player cards that I'm interested in. I just haven't really got them into my decks yet. Have you been playing with Duskmorn?
Yeah, we've been playing. In fact, we just played last night, and I opened a foil one of the green overlords. I think that's like the most expensive card in the set. I opened a foil one of those.
Ooh.
But yeah, we've been playing basically sealed. So
Okay.
whenever I buy sealed product, I love sealed product. So I usually buy a couple boxes and a couple boost or a couple bundles, and we play here. We do. We'll open up our bundles and have a bundle battle. So we get however many cards are in the bundle. That's our sealed pool basically, and we'll make decks and play against each other. And then if we feel like it, we'll open up a couple packs and kind of upgrade those decks and keep playing, or we'll play open three play all, where you take three packs, open them up. That's your entire deck. You pull out all the tokens and non-land or non-basic lands, or all the land cards you take out. That's your deck, and you have piles of each land in front of you. And you get to play one land per turn. You get to choose what color, and so you have your three packs. That's your deck, and you get to play one land per turn. It's actually pretty fun. So we did that last night actually, and yeah, it's
Yeah, that sounds like a blast.
yeah, it's like, I mean,
You do that every set?
you play five colors every time. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. That sounds awesome. And who you play with? Is 4-player game usually
No,
or
no,
5?
just 1v1. Me and my
One v
fiance.
one.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
it's like crazy sealed. Like every card could happen at any time.
yep, yeah,
That sounds like a blast.
yeah. It's super fun.
Um, because I used to Winston draft a lot, played a lot of limited.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was always fun to play with every set. And unfortunately, after the advent of Arena, I haven't played very much limited.
Yeah,
With all the chaos and booster packs
that's
nowadays.
what we play here. I mean, we only do limited formats here. I mean, we play Commander sometimes, but well, actually, I take that back. So after we've opened up all the cards, we will usually, me and my son, we will go and build like four decks. Just with, like, say, Duskmourn. Once we get all that opened, we're gonna make just decks that are just Duskmourn cards. So it usually follows like the theme of some of the ones, like Bloomborough, for instance. We were making bunny decks and squirrel decks and raccoon decks, and so that's what we did with all the Bloomborough cards. Is just made four decks, and then we'll each play those, and that's pretty fun too. We do that a lot after all the cards are open. So
That was the first time I ever did that. Was my girlfriend bought two collector's boosters of Bloomborough, and we just made tribal decks, and we played all
yeah,
different variations. Frogs versus rabbits,
uh huh,
mice versus birds, all those cool combinations. We had a blast. I think 8 different It was more than 8. Well, she only wanted to play one she likes, obviously, but it was a good time. I enjoyed the frogs. I really liked the frogs. I was really thinking about making a couple of those frogs my commander deck leaders. But yeah, that was a great time, and I love playing on those themes. I always used to try and make commander decks out of all the old draft themes, like Shards of Alara,
yeah.
Khans of Tarkir, stuff like that. That really amplify that. And the way they make sets nowadays, the cards are a little bit more amped up, but they actually kind of have a function. You could really put something together.
Yeah, I mean, now that they have the precons, you can get the precon and upgrade it, and
Yeah, and if your theme is picked, it's like boom, you're
right,
there, you're
yeah,
in it. I remember back in the day, you'd get a precon, you get like 7 cards. It's like good luck. Now, threading the needle there is kind of important. My girlfriend does not like to play against the white black Dungeons and Dragons precon because it is just a powerhouse. I forget the name of it, but it's the party mechanic, and I love the deck's fun to play,
oh,
but it's pretty high power level. You're getting quite a few death touch attackers in play on the early turns, and for a casual game, when you're getting beaten down for 10 damage on turn 5 or 6, it's a lot to take in. And I'm not saying there's anything bad about that. There's worse things that could be happening, but
there's one deck
I do want to.
that kind of flew under the radar, I think, and that's that Planeswalker party deck from Commander Masters.
Oh yeah.
That goes hard, man. My son, he played when we went to Vegas last year. He played in a couple events where they give you a precon, just a random precon commander deck, and you sit down in a
Hmm.
pot of four and play that way. And he got that Planeswalker party deck. Man, it was. I walked by one time and he just had so many dice on so many Planeswalkers in front of him. It was absolutely nuts. And yeah, I mean that the Eldrazi one is really expensive and it's pretty good, but that Planeswalker party, man, I think it flew under everyone's radar. I'd pick it up.
One of the people in our pod upgraded that deck, and yeah, people just aren't ready to kill planeswalkers,
Uh
and
huh.
they just do that. Wrath, we're all like, well,
Yeah.
we're probably gonna die in a few turns to some ultimate. No one can get purchase, and
Nice board
you know,
wipe.
yep. And it's like, okay, we're all dead, I guess.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but a good amount. That one, you're
Hmm.
right. That one's real powerful.
Yeah.
And now bringing that back, that used to be a thing I'd do every year, whenever because it was back the yearly release with the 5 decks. We would do that every. It was like a big celebration. We'd all get together, play limited games or limited,
Uh huh.
just the precons against each other,
Yep.
and that was a blast. I love doing that. Even the power level across everyone's decks, everything was new and exciting. But now that the releases are so quick and there's another one, another one, another one, it's really pick and choose. That's why I'm not, I haven't really dove into Duskmourn. And I've played against some of them. I've played
Yeah.
against the black green deck and the blue black deck. So the Delirium deck, what's that called? The Delirium deck, House of Horror, and uh, or maybe that's not the name. That's the name of Duskmourn. Anyway, I played against the the, the Delirium deck and the Manifest Dread deck, um, and I've seen some fun. I've had some fun games against those. The Manifest one gets a ton of lands into play, and the Delirium ones is pretty resilient even against some graveyard hate. But yeah, those games were pretty fun. They were giving good vibes, not negative vibes. And anytime I play a game and we're getting like good, enjoyable gameplay, I'm excited for that. I haven't played against the Esper one. I assume that one's not as exciting to play against. I haven't actually played against the Endless Punishment deck, but that one sounds fun and looks fun to me.
Yeah. I have a bunch of precons sleeved up at all times. The Doctor Who ones, the Fallout ones. I've still got all the original from 2011 sleeved up and ready to go. So, yeah, if we play Commander, a lot of times we'll play just precon versus precon, and that's pretty fun sometimes too.
Yeah, and I think that's a fun way to play. I like that's like I think that's why the sealed decks are getting so popular. Like some people don't live near like a city, and so this
Hmm.
is a way to get your Magic all in a box, your whole deck, and it's a good way to get like a board game style experience. Some people don't want to engage with Magic with engaging with every card in existence for the history and go through all
Yeah,
that. They're like,
my
hey, but I
my
really love
fiance
this
gets
setting.
my fiance gets overwhelmed when we play, Commander outside of the house because it's like she knows from Amonkhet forward, most of the cards, and she's kind of overwhelmed whenever there's like, oh, what does that do? What does and she doesn't want to ask, and so, but I mean,
Yeah, and
she
then you
enjoys
just
it, so.
yeah, it's tough. It's tough to draw that
Hmm.
line, and I really like when we have more getting more people into the game. That's kind of always been the thing is we want more people to play with, and
Yeah.
making the game more complex and more difficult to engage with is a lot of times worse. I think they've been engaging with that a little bit better in the last few years. Not everything's a 8 paragraph double-sided card right now, and some of the cards rules texts are getting a little bit easier to digest. But every once in a while nowadays, you'll just read a card and I'm going, what does this do?
Yeah.
Say that to me again. It was Strixhaven was the worst. There were some spells that had like alternate costs, and I didn't even understand why. A lot of Magic cards, best thing, because I played Yu-Gi-Oh! And I watched some Yu-Gi-Oh! Content nowadays. I played back in the day. Now I just watch it. I don't really know what's going on. But I've been watching a progression series where they start from the beginning, back where I played Yu-Gi-Oh! With cards that do like two things. And as you go on, every set gets more and more incredible, like what a card can do. To give you an example, you know how planeswalkers have all those abilities.
Uh-huh.
And like if you don't know what a planeswalker does and you look at it as a Magic card and you've done the tutorial, like that's a lot to understand. Well, Yu-Gi-Oh cards are like all like their own little planeswalkers to some degree is how I'm going to make the analogy. So imagine your deck is full of a bunch of little planeswalkers, um, and they're all specific to your archetype. So now I'm playing frogs, but all my frogs only work with my other frogs, and you got to understand my whole
Mm.
frog archetype. And that makes Yu-Gi-Oh very explosive, very unique. But I don't want Magic to get there because it's not what's good about Magic. It's simple to read, intuitive designs,
Yeah.
things that either give nostalgia to the original way the game was played and some of the legacy or newer cards that kind of exemplify a new setting. I think we got away from that for a while, and I'm glad we're coming back to it. We were really on power level. What can this card do to really bump up the game and push the initiative and push the game harder? Designing for modern. MH1 and 2 were way more. I should say MH2 was, I think, more in the wrong direction, where MH3, I think, really threaded the needle, except for, a particular bird.
Well, I mean,
Which they said it was an accident. They said it was an accident.
that's where I kind of miss standard too, because like with standard, you could get people in through standard because they only had to learn this small pool of cards, and it was easy to play. And I think,
Yeah.
with modern and pioneer, like, I mean, it's a huge set. Like, if you think about it, Mirrodin, okay, what Mirrodin 8th edition was the start of modern, okay? That
Hmm.
was, I mean, that was like only 10 years in to Magic. So you've got
Right.
two-thirds of Magic's history is in modern. And
Correct. Yeah. It's older than Legacy was when I
when
think somebody
modern
said something like,
started,
yeah,
yeah. And
fascinating.
and I mean, I love standard, and not a whole lot of people do, but I think we're missing something there by not having standard become be a a format that a lot of people play, because it does get people in, and once they get in, then they can start learning all these cards that they're for pioneer and modern and all that stuff. And standard was a good gateway, I think, into Magic, and I think we're missing that.
Well, and if you
Commander.
go back and you think about how we started playing, right? So we were
Mhm.
playing, well, we were playing kitchen table, a little bit of little Magic, but it was standard was my gateway too.
Yeah.
It wasn't Legacy. Like Legacy
Yeah.
wasn't far away, but
When I got back in with my kids in 2005 when we met, I mean,
mhm.
every Friday night it was standard, and then after I went 0-2 drop normally in the standard tournament, we'd go play EDH. And I mean, I think a lot of people miss those standard days. I don't know if standard is viable now with the cards that we're getting. I think I will say that standard today is better than it was a year ago, and
Yeah.
I don't know how this foundation set is going to shake that up. It looks pretty interesting. We're going to start getting previews pretty soon, right? Have we started getting previews
Yeah.
yet?
It should be. They gave us like 5 previews not too long ago. It was like a cat, an enchantment that was like a glorious anthem for a green and a white. Um, it's green and white enchantment. All your creatures get +1/+1. They also decided to give enchantments always to have that Nyx frame, that really starry frame for
Yeah.
enchantments, which was really cool. There was a cat that had like the 9 lives joke, so it's like when it died, I think it went to exile or something. You can
Oh,
play
I
it
did see
again,
that.
or
Yeah, yeah,
9 times. So they've given us a little sampler, and I hope this is. I feel like the wave is shifting from the chaos over the pandemic, and it's kind of been since then, a little bit before then. I think we're shifting back. I'm hoping that this is the big reset. Foundations is as impactful to Magic as like Magic 2010 was, where they
yeah.
changed the stacking of damage and really simplified cards and going to simple words like silence and Runeclaw bears and things and such like that. Baneslayer Angel being like a poster child
Okay.
of like, look how awesome this is. Baneslayer
Yeah.
is not even that crazy. They've made a Baneslayer in Um, what was that set? March the Machines. It has backup. It gives your attacking creature that turn like the ability to be a Baneslayer mini.
Oh yeah,
So
the
and no
artifact
one
one.
cares.
Yeah.
Like it's just does not a big deal. I mean,
Hmm.
and then I was watching a video where because I had stopped paying attention to standard and I saw a video where they were having the Yu-Gi-Oh players guess which card was which or how good it was, and they get to Siege Rhino. I'm like, oh man, is this guy gonna know Siege Rhino's good? He's like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's like, yeah, and then later on they go on there. Okay, so here's Shieldred, the Apocalypse, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, that card's a way better than Siege Rhino. Like, because I don't play standard, so I'm just like, scaled out. I'm like, they made monocolored Siege Rhino at legendary with Death Touch. Excuse me?
Yeah.
Like, I already knew that card was wild, but to commander players, that card's only good in like decks that are like it's okay
Yeah.
to just run, but it's mostly gonna get people pissed at you. And then it's really good in decks that have wheels. But for me, I'm
Yeah.
just like, yeah, whatever. It's a meat, does damage.
It
It's
doesn't
pretty
go in
good, but
every
I'm not.
single black deck.
Yeah, it's $80. Like I don't need that.
Yeah.
It's not gonna
Yeah.
make me win more. It's not gonna make my. It doesn't go with my deck.
I
It's how I
mean,
think for commander.
the original one was better. Shieldred, whatever the original Shieldred
Yeah,
was. That I
the
mean,
whispering one, the 7 drop.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That goes in most
that
black
one's
decks,
still
I
good.
feel.
Yeah, that
So
one's still good. I like that one.
so what do you think they're gonna do with these Marvel cards? How's that gonna affect power creep?
Well, I mean, if these four are exemplary of what that set's gonna look like, the four spoilers they've given us,
Yeah.
it's looking good. It's looking good. I'm into this lower powered kind of enjoyable game experience that's evocative. Like all the cards they spoiled Black Panther, Iron Man, Wolverine, and Captain America. Um, and they're all just evocative of what the character is, and none of these are particularly offensive to me in like gameplay wise. Like I'd enjoy playing against a deck that's going on these themes. Um,
Well, the
but if you
Captain
want to, are
America
there any?
one
Yeah,
looks pretty good. I mean, when you're doing stuff for free, that's always potential for abuse there.
yeah.
I
Let me
think
read it
that.
out for everybody. It's Captain America, First Avenger. He's a red, a white, and a blue. He's a 4/4. Legendary creature, human soldier hero. These are all heroes, by the way. Kind of new. They have that flavor text, free text on him, kind of like they did in D&D. I don't know. Did they do that in Lord of the Rings? I think they did. But he has throw. Pay 3 mana, unattach an equipment from Captain America. He deals damage equal to that equipment's mana value divided as you choose among 1, 2, or 3 targets. And then catch at the beginning of combat on your turn. Attach up to 1 target equipment you control to Captain America. So, and he's a 4/4. So that's what he does. But yeah, go on. Tell me what you
Yeah.
think about him.
I mean, like I said, when you're doing stuff for free, that look at like what is it, Behemoth Sledge or the
Yep.
Colossus Hammer, like uh, you know, when you there's a lot of artifacts and equipment out there that you can abuse this with, in my opinion.
Oh,
So,
he's great. He might become the poster child of Jeskai decks just for the fact
oh
that that
yeah,
color combination is pretty weak for choices. Like
it is.
you either
Yeah,
have ones that are super busted, like they're super too good or annoying, or you have ones that are too soft because the color combination's a little weak in Commander, or you have this guy, which I think kind of does the perfect balance. He's pretty
yeah.
powerful,
But
but
you do have to
you
run
can stop him with
you
swords to
you
plowshares.
do have to run the artifact equipment package in that deck. So you're kind of locked into a certain strategy with him, I think. So
Yeah, you know what you're signing up for with him. It's like blow up
yeah,
artifacts, blow him up. He might get around you. He might get a Sun Forger on him, and you might have instants coming at you for the rest of the game. You're never going to stop him. But that's fun,
yeah,
and it's not just him. He's not a monolith. Like some of the newer commanders, they come out and you don't need anything else. It just has to survive.
yeah,
Captain
yeah,
America, he at least needs a friend. So you have the games where you spike, you have your best equipment, but you'll have the games where you don't. and I'm in for it. I'm in for it. This
Yeah.
is like the perfect threading that needle of enjoyable gameplay. Like someone's not going to sit across from me with Captain America unless they make some busted equipment later, and I'm gonna be like, oh, here we go.
Yeah, right. It's not,
Like
oh yeah, I've got Thassa's Oracle here, you know.
right. Yeah, we haven't mentioned that about how we feel about that. But yeah, speaking of the bands earlier, but yeah, we overlooked Thassa's Oracle Demonic Consultation.
So let's
Anyway.
let's go through these Marvel cards real quick here.
Yeah.
So let's go, and I'm gonna put them up on the screen for people to look at. So let's talk about
Okay.
Wolverine here. So
Yeah.
Wolverine is gruel colored, and he has regenerate, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, they had to, right?
Yeah. Yeah, of course. He regenerates. That's his thing. And
He's
it's
what
kind of hilarious.
he's only a 2/2, and with double strike. So I really thought they might do some sort of like berserk. What is read his card for me?
Yeah, here we go. So Wolverine, best there is. One generic red and a green for a 2/2 legendary creature, mutant berserker hero. I do like that they made him a mutant and not a human. That is
Uh
really
huh.
cool. Unrivaled lethality, double all damage Wolverine would deal. At the beginning of each end step, if Wolverine dealt damage to another creature this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on him. One in a green, regenerate Wolverine. 2/2.
Yeah, yeah. I really love this card. It's the red and green colors is kind of weird for me because he's always been the blue and yellow, but I mean he's not gonna be a Zorius. I understand that, but
No.
it's just the card frame throws me off every time I see the Wolverine card. But that's the only thing that
Yeah.
gets me about this card. But I understand, that that's what it has to be. So, but yeah,
Yeah, it is a little silly on that.
this is probably my favorite one that they released so far is him and Iron Man. I think Iron Man is really cool too.
Yeah, I want to dive into Wolverine a little bit.
Okay.
They I watched the show in the 90s, the animated series and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that he does um I love the double damage, so he has a lot more bite than you would think. I
Yeah.
like that he's playing off a Senjir vampire, which is a really classic Magic reference. So you're like, wow, you know, that's an interesting man. Or maybe what's that other dinosaur card? Fungasaur? He's like a Fungasaur. He's got a lot of old school. So he's like old man Logan. He's like got old school abilities. And then regenerate, another old school ability. So he's just like
Yeah.
the old grizzled guy. He's from the past. It all
Yeah.
really makes sense. Now, the only thing I would have wished, and I know this was up to power level, and I'm not like a power level pusher, but there's an old green card. It's like uh, Nullbridge, whatever. He's a troll. Troll. He's the Mosswort Bridge troll. Anyway, he has regenerate whenever he would die or be destroyed. He's regenerated. I think that would have made more
Oh, you don't
thematic
have to
sense
pay
for
for it.
Wolverine. Yeah, but you have to
Okay.
pay
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to be. I don't like cards to be that annoying. But pretty cool.
Yeah.
Also, just relentless attacker. But yeah, I'm ready to get into Iron Man. We got Iron Man, Titan of Innovation, Flying Haste 4/4, Genius Industrialist. Whenever Iron Man attacks, create a treasure token. Then you may sacrifice a non-creature artifact. If you do, search your library for an artifact with mana value 1 plus the sacrificed artifact's mana value, put it onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle. Create a treasure token. Ooh, that's pretty spicy. That's actually my first read through of that card, I think. Yeah, I like that. So he's Birthing Pod
Yeah.
for non-creature
For non-creature
artifacts.
artifacts. Yeah.
But you can get any artifact. So you
So
could get an artifact creature. And he
yeah.
goes tapped. And he's an artifact. Oh, sorry. He's a legendary artifact creature
Hmm.
human hero. Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting. He's an artifact.
Yeah. Yeah, that is. Well, I guess he has the thing in his heart, right? He has a piece
Oh
of
yeah, that's
equipment in his
true.
heart.
Yeah.
So he's
Okay.
technically a cyborg. So he's an artificial.
Yeah. Okay.
It
I'll
works.
take that.
It
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It is a little weird, and I do still wish Wizards would figure out a way to like make their text box for types a little wider because him not being an artificer seems a little weird. I get that he's
Yeah.
a hero first, but it's like I just know us having to slap legendary in that text box
I
consistently
bet.
just
I bet we get a Tony Stark card.
oh
You know,
yeah.
and I mean
Yeah.
that'll probably be the Artificer card. So
Yeah. And I still don't even know if these are commander deck cards, these are giveaway cards, these are,
so
we see that rubber band across the image. I have no idea.
so the story is, and this is what I've read online, is somebody tracked down this guy through the Facebook Marketplace ad, and he works for one of the printing companies that does the cards. And apparently, this is not the first time that he's sold stuff from the printing factory or attempted to sell stuff from there. And so they were, speculating that since these were all individually wrapped, that they were, supposed to be giveaways. And we do have New York Comic Con coming up, I believe next weekend or this weekend.
Oh,
So
okay.
we may see these getting handed out there, or we may see them in Vegas at the end of the month. So I'm hoping both
Okay.
because I'm going to Vegas. I hope to
I was
maybe
gonna
get
say
some
you're gonna
Marvel
be
cards. So
there.
yeah, yeah.
Get me as many copies as you can.
So
Don't actually do that. It's okay. But it'd be cool to see them.
yeah. I
Yeah,
just want to see them in person. I'm not
yeah,
really
that'd be
excited
awesome.
for about the Marvel set because, like, I mean, I, if Wizards is Wizards, they're gonna beat this thing, to death, and it's gonna be
Hmm.
overdone, which I hope is not the case. I hope,
Yeah.
like I think Lord of the Rings was well done. I hope we get some sort of Lord of the Rings type Marvel set, and that's it. But we know they're gonna try to milk this for all it's worth. And I'm not a
Oh,
huge Marvel fan, so I don't have a whole lot of skin in the game. So, but like I said, if they do it like a set, commander decks, and a few secret layers, I think I'll be happy with that. But I don't want to see a Marvel something with every single product. Like, oh, we're going back to Lorwyn next year. Here's the Marvel secret layer that goes with Lorwyn. I don't want to see that crap. But who
oh,
knows?
so I'm sorry to burst your bubble on that one, but I'm pretty sure this is Lord of the Rings round two. We're getting the winter edition, the
Yeah.
bonus secret layer on secret layer. We'll be next year or 2 years from now. We're going to be at Return to Marvel Part Two. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm with you. So actually, I am a Marvel fan. I grew up on Spider-Man, the X-Men. I'm probably not as
Yeah.
hardcore as many people, but good enough, I would say. Um, I love the movies. This does feel like a departure for me from this again. Like, I like Lord of the Rings, but I'm playing Magic the Gathering, and these things in my game, while they're cool, I do have the fear that I still don't want to get down to that point of where like I consistently sit across from Wolverine, I consistently sit across from Frodo, I
Yeah.
consistently, and I just don't want to sit down to a game where it's like none of these characters are magic ones, and then the magic ones start being the weird ones out. That's what
Yeah.
I'm afraid of. That has not yet
Yeah.
happened, and I don't know anyone whose main commander is at this moment personally. I don't know anyone whose main commander is a secret lair or off universes beyond commander. Not that I think
My
there's anything
fiance runs
wrong with that,
Shelob.
but
My fiance has her main deck is Shelob.
Shelob.
Yeah,
Okay,
from Lord of the
okay,
Rings. So she loved that. So
okay.
she's a big Lord of the Rings fan. So yeah, I don't mind all this stuff. I think it's great because it gets more people playing Magic. Um, my only problem is, like I said, if every set they try to cram it in, like I said, if we go back to Lorwyn and we get you know Lorwyn Marvel cards, like that's when, like, if it doesn't fit the theme and it doesn't go with the set then I have a problem with that. But if it exists on its own, I have absolutely no problem with it.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm glad they're like modern sets, so they're not necessarily like forced in anything. We'll see them in Commander, and with the way things go nowadays, I don't feel like it'll be too bad. Lord of the Rings, there's so many cards. I still to this day randomly see cards from Lord of the Rings that were like, that exists. Like, it was such a deluge of product that, to this day, you only see them once in a while, aside from the One Ring, which I hate. And to bring that up, and that is my biggest fear, is the One Ringification of these sets. And I can't imagine Wizards did not just go, hey, did you know there's 5 Infinity Stones or however many Infinity Stones and an Infinity Gauntlet that are one of one in the universe?
Yeah.
Oh boy. So we're gonna have the 6 rings or whatever in this one. So you have 6. I don't know how many times Post Malone can shell out $2 million.
$2 million.
Yeah, 2 million. How many times? And then, if I'm the lucky butthole who has the 6th card and he needs it, I don't think that card's 2 million anymore. I'm pretty sure it's like 4 million, 6 million, 8 million. I don't know. He's rich. I don't know. But that's also like, that's not why I play Magic. I'm not here to be like, here's my Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, like, card, like I don't mind that we've had the spikes of getting a couple $100 cards, but like,
but if you're a big Marvel fan, I think that you're gonna have a lot of building a like themed Commander deck with these Marvel cards. I think that kind of entices me, and I'm not a huge Marvel guy. I kind of want to build like an Iron Man deck or something, or a Wolverine deck, or put together an X-Men deck. I think that would be pretty cool. So. But yeah, the lottery tickets, I don't. It is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, I've basically accepted it. I guess I'm just mostly concerned for Magic's identity. This year, I was just looking up to see what our Universes Beyond were for 2023, and I'm thinking we had Fallout and Assassin's Creed. Were both of those this year? Was that last?
Nope, those were this year.
Yeah, so I think those were big, but they didn't hit like, I don't feel like they had the impact Lord of the Rings had, even though Fallout was popular.
Yeah.
So my thing is, like you said, Lorwyn is next year, and so is Tarkir. So I really am not looking forward to, and so is Final Fantasy. Yeah. And I'm not really looking forward to Final Fantasy and Marvel eating all the space for some planes that I've been waiting for decades.
Yeah.
Like it's a decade since cons. It's been 2 decades since Lorwyn almost.
That was 2000. Holy crap, we're coming up on 20 years. No, it was
2008.
Yeah, it was 2000. 2005 was Ravnica, so 2008. Yeah, so
it says October 2007 was the release date of Lorwyn.
Yeah,
so we're not 2 years shy of the return.
Wow, of 20 years.
Yep. So 18 years coming for Lorwyn. 10 years. I think cons was 2015-ish, maybe 2014. So it's on a 10-year return, and I'm just worried about them just getting drowned out.
Yeah.
But not doom and gloom. I think one of the best things of the new Universes Beyond is that I've seen Magic's kind of survived it. Other things have come to the surface. Bloomburrow really survived. Kind of sprung out as being a really popular set this year. One of the ones everyone was breath of fresh air, very Magic-y feel. And people are engaging with Duskmourn just as much. Maybe not as much, but in a good way. I haven't heard a lot of negativity about Duskmourn, just not as much enthusiasm. But that's just in my sphere. I don't think that's necessarily the case.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people mad because there's like tennis shoes and TVs and all this stuff and like the Ghostbuster stuff, and my favorite card in this Duskborn set is the TV. Have you read
Oh,
the
really?
Yeah, have you read it?
Is
It's
that
so
the
much.
5 color tapping artifact?
No, it's so it is an artifact. It's the TV. It taps for black or white first of all. Then you can pay, and it taps for red, green, or blue. Then you can pay 7
Yes.
and put 7 counters on it. It becomes a creature. Like that is the most flavorful card that I've seen in the past 5 years at least. It's my favorite card in the set, just flavor wise.
Yes, that card exactly. Yeah, you should go over and explain why that card's flavorful because it was lost on me until somebody explained it to me. Do you know
So so it's a
the whole
TV.
thing?
It's a TV, and it is black and white. And so it's a black and white
Yep.
TV, and then you can pay, what is it, two? Pay
I'm looking it up
two
right now.
to you pay 1 or 2, and I'll put it up on the screen here. You pay 1 or 2, and it can make
I
red,
got it. I got.
green,
I'll
or
read it out
blue.
real quick.
So
So it's haunted screen, 3 mana artifact, taps for a white or a black. Tap it, pay 1 life, add a green, a blue, or a red. Pay 7, put 7+1/+1 counters on haunted screen. It becomes a 0/0 spirit artifact creature token. In addition to its other types, activated only once. So go
yeah.
ahead.
So yeah, this
So
is
what's the flavor there?
so the flavor is it's a TV, right? And it taps for black or white, so like a black and white TV. Then you can pay a life, and it taps for red, green, or blue, which is red, green, or blue is the colors of your TV screen. All those colors together can make any color, and then you can
RGB.
pay right. So then you can pay 7 and make it a creature, just like the from the Ring movie. So you get the call.
Oh,
You watch the video. 7 days later, you get the call, or you get the call. 7 days later, she crawls out of the TV and kills you. So yeah, that's
cut.
that's my favorite card from the set, flavor wise. I love it so much.
I'm into that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't even know that was a Ring reference. That's so good.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But
my
just
people
I
who are
was
into like 80s horror and stuff, which is plenty of people I know, are very hyped for this set.
Yeah, I'm
Very
not a
hyped.
huge horror fan. I like the '80s horror movies. I grew up with them, but I love this set too. I love. I don't. A lot of times they like I was saying before with the universes beyond stuff. They just beat a dead horse, and cram stuff. And I was really worried about that with this set, where they just go they have the freaking Freddy Krueger card. Like
Yeah.
I thought they were just gonna just go all out with that, and everything is I think very well done. It's not over the top. It's not like they have the unstoppable slasher guy, which is
Hmm.
Jason or Mike Myers, and it's not
Hmm.
Jason or Mike Myers. It's just you get the vibe from it. You get it's not so in your face it's just a vibe. The whole set is just the '80s horror vibe. It's not this is the '80s horror movie. There are some of those references and they're cool, but yeah, I really enjoy this set. I think it's flavor wise, it's done really well.
Also, big thing, Magic for a long time, especially through the 2000s and beyond, was really good at doing like kind of depressing, dark settings like Innistrad and stuff like
Yeah,
that. And this set was more like a fun, energetic vibe. It even has things that are like cute and cuddly in it. So for people like us Bloomburrow heads, I can't wait to get my Enduring Courage promo doggy, for one of my decks. So they really, I think that was the big thing is making a horror set that didn't feel so
like
dour and sour and spooky all the
yeah,
way.
and so with in my opinion, Throne of Eldraine, yes, it's a fairy tale set. All those references were just too on the nose. They were
Yeah.
just Three Blind Mice, the Beauty and the Beast. It was just all that in your face. Whereas I feel like Dustborn, it has that '80s horror, but it's just the vibe. It's not so in your face. So I like when they do
Yeah,
it
I'm
that
there
way
with you.
rather than just the blatant call outs.
Well, and now that we have Universes Beyond doing the straight up, like here's a clone card, like you got the Secret Lair with
Yeah,
Chucky and all those things. I
And the
mean, you kind of get to
Ghostbusters and
have both. Yeah, yeah, you
yeah,
have both, and
yeah.
then it
That's
can
a
be
fair point.
directly for them, and then I don't have to notice it if as a Magic player. You
Yeah,
know, I might not get the TV reference, but then somebody can tell it to me, and that's kind of cool.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was fun and enjoyable. It's just a mana rock that has some extra utility, and I get the like the immersion bounce off thing, but now that we have Universes Beyond, I think we're kind of
Hmm.
beyond that
Yeah,
in a sense.
yeah, yeah.
I would have liked that Pandora's box to say shut, but at this point it's like it's fantasy, it's all fantasy, and
Hmm.
if it's gonna make some cool opportunities. It's like how Kamigawa when they went back, it's like guess what? We have mechs now, and like sure they're not made with machines and they're made of magic. We're not necessarily seeing rockets yet, or maybe we are. I don't really recall those, but we got motorcycles and stuff. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
I'm kind of in. I'm kind of in. I like all those properties too. Modern era. And
Cyberpunk is
as long
like
as we
my
have both.
favorite. Cyberpunk is like my favorite genre, so I was happy with that
Yeah,
set. So, it's
I
just
loved it.
it's just what you're into.
And it actually, Neon Kamigawa, just to see how good that set was, it makes old Kamigawa really feel old. Like you go look at those old booster packs or like the
Yeah.
Neocean arts and all that,
Uh-huh.
it really does feel like you've jumped into the future. And
Yeah,
I
it does
really,
actually.
yeah, it's beautiful. So like when they
Yeah.
do Lorwyn again, I can't only imagine like bringing those into the future. Like we are on a whole new world. The way cards are designed, the evocative nature, seeing like what we can do now when our sets aren't as parasitic. Like we just had a great successful one with Bloomburrow. Yeah, I'm just the Bloomburrow guy apparently. It was a great evocative set with Bloomburrow and how to do tribes again and have good gameplay. Like I watched a lot of limited with that. That got me interested in the limited a little bit more. And now I can do it with Kithkin. I can do it with Tree Folk, and I can see all these new art styles and really, am I going to see a Doran? I'm going to see Galactique. What characters am I going to see again?
Yeah, I
You
hope
know,
Doran was my favorite. Tree folk is probably one of my favorite tribes, and Doran, he was one of my first EDH decks. So,
yeah.
what do you think? Do you think we're going to get more planeswalkers? Because they're doing one or two per set now, and the original Lorwyn set had all. Yeah, that was the first set with planeswalkers. Had all five in it. What do you think? Are they going to stick to that 1 to 2 planeswalkers per set?
It would be cool for them to do five just because they were the Lorwyn five.
Yeah.
They didn't have anything to do with Lorwyn, so I could see them kind of going either way. Um, and I don't know if I want them to lean too hard into that because then they might get in their head like, oh, here's the new way we're doing planeswalkers, so we need to make another impactful set. Where
What
I'm
if they
more
just
like,
go ahead?
where do we get like Cryptic Command 2?
Yeah.
Do we get Bitter Blossom 2?
Ooh.
No, that's not what I'm looking for, but you know what I'm saying? Like what I'm actually so I like Lorwyn block, but I'm more of
Mhm.
a Shadowmoor guy.
Mhm.
Like I want more of that vibe. So
Yeah.
how are we gonna play with that? Where am I gonna get my like Demigod of Revenge Part 2,
That
or the
was my
new
favorite card from Shadowmoor. I love that
I
card.
love that card. Figure of Destiny.
Uh huh.
Oh, I played that red deck so much. That was one of my favorite decks of all time.
Yep.
That standard mono red deck. Oh, it was beautiful. And then Oversoul of Dusk, I used to play Green White Little Kid. A lot of you probably don't know. Deck had like Llanowar Elves, this Wiltleaf Cavaliers,
Uh huh.
Wiltleaf Liege. There's a
Hmm.
bunch of pumping white green things, and aura that gave +1/+1 flying and indestructible to a green white creature.
Nath of the Goat
Nath,
Leaf. Yep.
Oversoul of Dusk.
So
Oh, love that set.
what if they just straight up reprint all five planeswalkers from Lorwyn in the new Lorwyn? They just
That
like,
would be so
here's your
cool.
Jace Bellerin, here's your Liliana of the Veil.
Garrick Wildspeaker, I played so much of that card in standard.
He
That
was
was like, oh
good.
my
He was
goodness.
so good.
Yeah. You'd play him in Jund, you'd play him in just like a proto Jund. Like I remember going Fertile Ground into Garrick, untap, play a Sprouting Thrynax. Stars of Alara is my favorite set of all time. So, um, yeah, I mean, there's some runners up nowadays, but that is one of my favorite settings. And yeah, I was very, very disappointed with new tangent, but I was very disappointed with Streets of New Capenna eating that slot. Oof, that felt so bad on so many levels for me.
Yeah.
But Lorwyn, they had the opportunity to give me another yay, and same with cons. It seems like they're seeding cons to be good, where we already have that dragon from Bloomborough. But yeah, Lorwyn, I'm excited. I can see so many cool cards. We get an enchantments theme. We can get tribal themes. We can get like maybe they do flip card themes because Lorwyn was trying to do that. Shadowmoor Lorwyn were two duality thing. Maybe it's a heavy double face card set.
Oh, yeah, could
I don't
be.
know if it might have Daybound again, but there's no werewolves. I don't know if I
Yeah.
love that idea, but you know, maybe it makes Daybound more worth it if it's not just tied to werewolves. Um, but that's just a thought. I feel like that might have been the reason they went that way with the wolf set, but we'll see. Could you imagine, like, here's my nice friendly merfolk on this side, nighttime, evil merfolk with a knife,
Yeah.
Sig River Cutthroat, both
So,
sides, one
yeah.
card.
That
And
would be
then other
cool.
commands.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the thing I'm looking for. I'm looking
Yeah,
for new dragon cards next year. Oh,
we do need a new command cycle. I would, I wouldn't be mad about that.
and Cryptic Command by today's standards is still a playable card, so
Well,
I'm
we had the one
scared.
from Bloomborough, the blue one from Bloomborough where you pay the paw prints. That was basically
Oh
Cryptic
yeah.
Command. Yeah, so
Yeah. Bloomborough definitely had huge Lorwyn inspirations in it.
yeah.
Definitely. So that maybe even convinces me more that Lorwyn's going to be like a whole new thing, maybe a Neo Tokyo style thing where it's like, okay, we did Lorwyn back in the past. Here's how we're doing it now to appease both crowds. But have they actually given out the specific name? We just know is it Return to Lorwyn, or is it?
I don't think we've gotten any information except that we're going back to Lorwyn.
Okay, so it could be anything. It could be Lorwyn Shadowmoor, or
Yeah.
it could have any name. So until we know that and a little bit more, and it's so far away, I think it's maybe 8 months away.
Is it the summer set or is it the fall set?
I think it's fall.
So we're a year away.
Yeah, so we're almost there. Lorwyn 2. It's somewhere on the list. But yeah, and I know cons I think is before or after Final Fantasy, which we didn't touch on that, but I'm very excited for that set too. I've only really played Final Fantasy Tactics, but I love a lot of the character designs and stuff like that from that set, and I know plenty of people who are in the background hyped for that too. So I'm kind of surprised Wizards decided to do two large properties. I know Marvel outsizes Final Fantasy by a large mile, but Final Fantasy is no slouch in it of itself. So
the only Final Fantasy I played was like NES Final Fantasy, like on the original NES console is like really the only Final Fantasy I've ever played. So
oh really?
That's my extent of Final Fantasy.
I've played Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced, one of my favorite games of all time. I played Final Fantasy 13, which I apparently picked the worst possible game to try and get back into it. Everyone tells me, because I had an Xbox 360. And I was like, this looks cool. Did not like that game. I played the online game for a hot minute because the girl I was dating was into it. I wasn't into the game, but wrong motivation there.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, that's my associated with Final Fantasy. I know all of the 7 characters. Some of my friends cosplayed as like Red 13 and as Cloud and as Tifa. And yeah, so I'm just excited to see what that looks like. I already am guessing Professional Facebreaker, new skin with Tifa on it. I'm buying it. Like, you just make that card exist.
That's your secret layer right there.
There it is. I'm seeing it in my mind. I don't know what Cloud's gonna be. I don't know if Buster Sword's going to be another 101 if we're just going back to serialized everything or not. But it's a big year coming up.
Yeah. I mean, 2025 looks really good for Magic. So we aren't getting any more sets this year. We're getting, except for Foundations, comes out next month. That's the only set we're getting for the rest of this year. And then 2025 looks promising. I mean, we've got Marvel. We've got Cons, Return to Lorwyn. some Death Race set, which a lot of people are shitting on, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to it. So I'm a car guy, and so
Oh.
more vehicles the better. So 2025 is looking really good, I think, for Magic. I'm really looking forward to Vegas here in a couple weeks. So despite all that we've seen going on as far as commander bans and death threats, and which I mean, come on guys, let's get it together with handling ourselves, in a respectful manner. Despite all that stuff and the disbanding of the rules committee and all that, I think it looks good for Magic in the future, and that's going to give us a lot to talk about. So I think
Yeah,
here
Brave New 2025.
yeah, let's wrap up this episode, and we will have some more stuff to talk about next week. You got any final thoughts, Nick?
Just excited to play more Magic, excited to see what's coming out, and excited to talk again.
All right. So I always end my YouTube videos like this. So let's just end the podcast like this. Brand new podcast, Magic the Blathering. We're glad to be here, and don't forget to like, shower, and subscribe. And we will see you guys next time.
Later.
All right.